Hello, gazers.
Hello, gazers.
We are the Problematic Gaze, and before we do anything else, please click that follow button. It really helps us to promote the word of the Problematic Gaze. How are you, Lee?
I'm really good, thank you. Are you?
Very good, although I've been torturing myself today because I've been doing a bit of the old day job, a bit of the old writing.
Right.
And there's nothing more torturous than sitting in a room, looking out the window when the sun's shining, knowing that you could be out in the garden, frolicking in the fields, doing anything else but sitting at a laptop, tapping away. But it has to be done. That's what pays the bills.
Exactly. I know exactly what you mean, but I just took my work into the garden this morning. Could you not do that? Would you get too distracted?
Well, have laptop will travel. I get a bit too distracted because there's always something that needs repotting or some weeds that need pulling up. I don't need any excuse to procrastinate. Just need to keep my head down and tap away like Jessica Fletcher.
Well, that's good. That shows you're disciplined, and that you can force yourself into your little box. Did you actually get any work done, or did you just spend the time looking out the window?
No, I did. I got a lot of work done, actually.
Oh,
there are some days when you're writing, and you know this as well by doing research for your book, there are some days fire is coming off the page. And then there are other days when you get absolutely F all done.
Yeah.
It's just the way the wind blows, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I found that on the days when you recognise that nothing is going to get done, just step away from it, because by the end of the day, your eyes will be bleeding. You'll think the whole project is shit. You think this is absolute rubbish. The 2 sentences you've managed to extract from every fibre of your body. Just walk away from it and finish the Beaujolais, darling.
And you will absolutely hate yourself.
Exactly. It's just like self-torture. As long as those days don't outnumber the other productive days, then you're fine. It's all part of the process, love.
Yes, darling. And a deadline is the best motivation to get your work done at the end of the day.
Well, you know that famous Douglas Adams quote about deadlines? Because he was notoriously late with all of his deadlines. He said, I love the sound that deadlines make as they go whooshing past my head. Never got his work in on time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a good boy. I always get my work in on time. 9 o'clock on the dot.
Well, we are the Problematic Gaze, and each episode we take a piece of pop culture and look at it and ask ourselves the questions, is this problematic? If it is, why? And what that says about the times it was made, and what it says about the times we live in right now.
And before we take a deep dive into our chosen topic, we'll have a look at the news events of the day it was released. We'll also look at the pop charts and have a look at the TV landscape. So, before we start, Lee, we should just say that our Big Brother episode last week went down immensely well, and I think a large part of that is due to our gazers.
Yes.
Who all contributed to the episode, and also to one Davina McCall.
Yes, our little show. Look how it's growing, darling.
It really is. It's really nice to see, isn't it? We get loads of comments, which is really nice. We're fast approaching a year doing this podcast. Can you believe it?
I know. I realised that when I was looking at the spreadsheet that we're nearly a year in. Yeah, we've got a spreadsheet. Obviously, we've got PG Towers, which is like 135 floors, but it's really important to state that we also have a spreadsheet.
We've got the spreadsheet,
yes,
which we always refer to. With that in mind, what are we going to be talking about this week, Lee?
Well, this week we take the Telly TARDIS back to 1968. And we take a look at a television play written by Nigel Neal called The Year of the Sex Olympics. Have you ever heard of this, Dave?
Can't say I did. And when you suggested it, I was like, what on earth is that? Something from the 60s called The Year of the Sex Olympics. So, no, had no preconceived ideas about what it was about. I've not heard anything about it.
I mean, I've never seen it. It's one of those kind of myths. If you read about the history of TV, it always pops up as something controversial, as something that was groundbreaking. If you're into sci-fi, if you're into Doctor Who, if you're into horror even, you probably have heard of it in the many books on those subjects. And so I've never seen it. I knew the basic premise of it, but like yourself, didn't have a clue what was going to unfold. It is on YouTube. It's an hour and 45, and it's a television drama from 1968, so can feel a little slow at some points. The print isn't the best, so the sound quality is a bit dodgy. And unfortunately, it's in black and white. It was originally broadcast in colour, but the BBC, in their wisdom, wiped the colour tape of it. So you can only imagine what the sets would have looked like. But yeah, so that's the year of the Sex Olympics. So with that in mind, should we cross over to the news desk and look at what was happening at the UK in 1968, Dave?
Okay, shuffling papers.
On the 8th of January, Prime Minister Harold Wilson endorses the I'm Backing Britain campaign, which encourages workers to work extra time without pay or take other actions to help competitiveness, which is spreading across the United Kingdom. Now, this was a short-lived campaign. It was started by a group of typists in Surbiton. The British economy is tanking again at this point. There's been the sterling crisis the year before. Harold Wilson's promise of a technological revolution haven't happened. And so you get this group of typists who said, I'm going to work this extra half hour. And very quickly, the press seize on this thing. So the I'm Backing Britain campaign becomes a thing throughout the first kind of half of the year. People were wearing badges, little Union Jack badges everywhere, the little I'm Backing Britain thing on meat and stuff in supermarkets. And it just fizzles out very quickly, you know, because the economy continues to just tank away, unfortunately.
Would you be able to encourage workers to work extra time without pay now?
No, not at all. And the other problem with it is that the unions started to get involved and started questioning quite rightly, hang on a second, who's making money from this? You know, so it very quickly becomes a real hot potato. And those poor typists in Surbiton.
Eurovision fever is starting to emerge in the air, isn't it? 2025 Eurovision, not that far away. But if we cast our gaze back to the 6th of April 1968, we'd go to the 13th Eurovision Song Contest, and it's held in the Royal Albert Hall in London. The winning song was Spain's La La La, and is performed in Spanish by Maciel, after Spanish authorities forbid Juan Manuel Serrat from performing it in Catalan. And the UK finish in second place, just 1 point behind, with the song Congratulations by Cliff Richard.
Yeah. Do you know the song La La La? Just sing the chorus for you. See if you can follow the lyrics.
Do it.
La 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 la. That's what it is.
Ah, got it.
Got it. Did you get it?
Great.
On the 20th of April, Enoch Powell, he sounds like a nice man, makes his controversial Rivers of Blood speech on immigration in Birmingham. This becomes very famous, very quickly very famous. You start to get dockers striking in support of him. He's massive in Wolverhampton, which is his constituency. And of course, it's the race stuff, isn't it? The next day, he's dismissed from the shadow cabinet by opposition leader Edward Heath, despite several opinion polls, unfortunately, stating the majority of the public shares Mr. Powell's fears. And he talks about being swamped. He talks about the white man will die out, all this stuff that just continues to get spouted out today.
And as much as things seem to be moving backwards, on the 27th of April, the Abortion Act 1967 comes into effect, legalising abortion on a number of grounds with free provision through the National Health Service. When was the contraceptive pill first brought out in the UK?
It was in 1961, but only for married women. And then an act comes in 1967, which means any woman can have it. This is the time when lots of new rights are being made for women, for race relations, for decriminalisation of homosexuality. It's all happening at this time. So this is all part of this kind of trying to make a more just and fairer society, I guess we'd call it these days.
This was towards the end of the 60s when the concept of progressiveness was flying very high. And that's something we'll be talking about a bit later, won't it? Because the Sex Olympics was a little bit of a kickback against that.
On the 8th of May, the Cray twins, 34-year-old Ronnie and Reggie, are among 18 men arrested in dawn raids across London. They stand accused of a series of crimes, including murder, fraud, blackmail and assault. Obviously, they're celebrities by this point, aren't they?
Well, until this point, it seems like they can get away with anything, but obviously chickens are coming home to roost at this point.
So emblematic of, again, seeming that the old class society is being taken apart bit by bit when East End gangsters can hobnob with TV stars, can hobnob with minor nobility, aristocracy. Horrible boys. Horrible boys.
On the 7th of June, started the Ford sewing machinist strike at the Dagenham assembly plant. Women workers strike to have their work valued as skilled rather than unskilled. The machinists feel that they are skilled as they have to pass a test to gain employment making car seats. And they don't achieve full wage parity, but are given 92% of the men's rate rather than 85%. So again, another progressive step forward there.
Absolutely. Have you seen the film Made in Dagenham?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, it's all about this strike. It's really good. It's worth a watch. Sandy Shaw, of course, famously from Dagenham, icon. Another sign of progressiveness, on the 27th of September, the US musical Hair opens in London which only is loud because theatre censorship's been stopped as well. So Hair, of course, famous, has a lot of nudity in it, which everybody was, clutching their pearls about when it was first suggested it come to the UK. But here it is. Like Afghana, I hope we talked about it in Till Death Is Due Part episode, the sense that the world is changing so quickly around you. Things like Hair appearing in the West End. Nude hippies. It's the end of the world.
Might not be the end of the world, but it's certainly the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Damn right.
Again, another progressive move here. On the 26th of November, the Race Relations Act is passed, making it illegal to refuse housing, employment or public services to people in the United Kingdom because of their ethnic background.
Mm-hmm.
This is rolling alongside the Enoch Powell Rivers of Blood speech, isn't it? Culture is going in two separate ways at the same time, clashing.
Yes. That one kind of ran away with you, didn't it? It's like you just switch yourself off and switch yourself back on.
I'd be shit on the radio. My brain stops and I have to catch up with myself, so it looks like I've just frozen.
Yes. Control-Alt-Delete. Control-Alt-Delete yourself.
Okay, so we're going to look at the top 20 of the official singles chart from week commencing 24th of July 1968, which is when the year of the Sex Olympics landed on TV. Mm-hmm. So let's start at number 20. Now, do we feel we're going to know a lot of these, do you think?
I'll say maximum 5 with a couple of surprises possibly thrown in.
Okay, number 20, Gotta See Jane by R. Dean Taylor. Don't know who Jane is. Jane? Anyone seen Jane?
I mean, I know I've got to see Mary Jane, but I don't know about Jane.
You would have been well at home in 1968, wouldn't you?
Oh, my God, for real. Free love, hello. Number 19, we know one. Jumping Jack Flash, the Rolling Stones. Come on, he's a gas.
Certainly is. Number 18, Universal, the Small Faces. Now, I know the Small Faces, but don't know Universal.
Ditto. Number 17, Sue Nichols. Where Will You Be? This Popper from Rent-A-Ghost and Audrey from Corrie.
Well, there you go. She's got one out.
She's got one out.
Number 16, Blue Eyes, Don Partridge.
Never heard of it. One More Dance from Esther and Abby Afarim at number 15.
Number 14, Hush, Not a Word to Mary. Bloody hell, we're looking for Mary, we're looking for Jane, we're looking for Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Mary Jane, anyone?
I think if R.D. Taylor at number 20 just spoke to John Rolls, there wouldn't be 2 songs there at all, would there? My Name is Jack at number 13 by Manfred Mann. No, the group, not the song.
Jack, Mary, Jane. Okay, number 12, Last Night in Soho. Davy D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Titch.
I mean, somebody didn't think that through, did they, when they named that band? How many names on the album cover? You're joking?
Bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Bit of a mouthful. Number 11, here we go. I Close My Eyes and Count to 10 by the Queen, Dusty Springfield. That song does something to me.
Are you a big Dusty fan?
I'm a big Dusty fan. While other teenagers were discovering the likes of Acid House and all that late 80s stuff, I was discovering the delights of Dusty Springfield, Cilla Black, Lulu and Sandy Shaw. I was so cool, Dave. I was so fucking cool.
I'm beginning to have my doubts about you. Okay, number 10, Mrs. Robinson, Simon and Garfunkel.
That's 3 we know
There you
now.
go.
This Guy's in Love with You by Herb Alpert.
Mm-hmm. Number 8, Fire, Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
I love that song. It's nuts. Have you seen the
Yeah.
video? Have you seen him performing it? Just watch him. He's got this thing on his head that's on fire and he looks terrifying, but it's great.
It kind of, for me, epitomises the swinging 60s, if you want to call it that. It's one of
Yeah.
those songs that when you hear it, always evokes that kind of feeling of the Stones on Eel Pie Island and people roaring around in these wonderful cars and a joint hanging out of every orifice, lava lamps, caftans, all that kind of shit.
Yesterday Has Gone. Cupid's Inspiration at number 7. Don't know.
Number 6, Son of Hickory Holler's Tramp, O.C. Smith. No, sorry.
Yummy 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 by Ohio Express at number 5.
I've got love in my tummy. Have you had a joint, by the way? Number 4, moving swiftly on, MacArthur Park, Richard Harris.
Obviously, I know the Donna Summer version. Number 3, Baby Come Back, The Equals. I think I know that one.
Number 2, again, another song that just kind of evokes the 60s, Moni Moni, Tommy James and the Shondells.
Obviously, yeah. Should we see what number one is? This is a great example of however much you talk about the hippie culture of the 60s and how it was like alternative stuff. Number one is fucking Des O'Connor with I Pretend. I mean, doesn't that just show you right there how conservative a lot of the 60s still is?
I
Yeah.
met Des O'Connor once.
What was he like? Was he
Yeah,
nice?
very nice
I bet
man.
he was. I bet he
Yeah.
was. Do you know what I miss, Dave? I miss when Shaky would appear in the charts. You know, I miss Shaky.
I haven't done Shaky for a while.
But we can't navigate our whole podcast schedule around Shaking Stevens, darling.
Do you think Shaky would come on the podcast?
Oh my God, could you imagine?
We could do a Shaky special.
We can but dream.
I almost wet my knickers when Davina came on. I don't know how I'd feel about Shaky. What do we do? Have to get our tenor ladies on, wouldn't we?
Tenor ladies in double denim, darling.
That was the charts from July 1968. Let's have a little look at the TV landscape. There were only 3 channels to choose from at this point, weren't there?
That's
BBC
right.
One, BBC Two and ITV.
And colour television has only been introduced the year before by the BBC. And to reflect that, in the 1st of January, the colour television licence is introduced when a £5 colour supplement is added to the £5 monochrome licence fee, making the cost of a colour licence £10. Now, for the vast majority of people, they're only going to have black and white TV well into the mid-70s. Colour TVs are so expensive at this point. They're only for the wealthy and the super wealthy. So not many people, I think 95% of people still have black and white TV and a black and white licence.
On the 5th of January, Gardener's World is broadcast for the first time. The programme would still be running over 50 years later. But you see, all those groovy gals and groovy guys wouldn't be staying in to watch Gardener's World, would they? They'd be going out, taking lots of speed and having lots of free sex.
But all those people listening to Des O'Connor would have been watching Gardener's World.
That is true.
On the 7th of May, BBC One airs the M.R. James ghost story, Whistle and I'll Come to You, which stars Michael Hordern, which has become a bit one of those little 50-minute black and white but scary as fuck things that gets rolled out every so often. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. And it's a really creepy ending, which still freaks people out. It's so well done, the ending of it.
On the 31st of July, popular sitcom Dad's Army, set in World War II Home Guard, begins its 9-year run on BBC One with the episode The Man and the Hour. I mean, that was a gargantuan hit, wasn't it? It actually continues to be. It's totally embedded into British culture, isn't it?
It is, but I think it's one of those things like a lot of stuff which is kind of set in the war or kind of memorializes the war has appealed less and less to younger generations, but is still very steadfastly held on to by certain generations. That's a polite way of putting it. Should we have a look at some debuts this year on telly?
One for you, I think.
30th of January, Sola gets her own show, quickly followed by the 22nd here by Lulu's Back in Town. I mean, for me, imagine a little gay boy in the Northeast if I'd been born. Oh my God. Hello. Lulu and Silly with their own shows.
Oh, gosh. You'd be soiling yourself at that, wouldn't you?
Soiling myself.
On the 14th of June, the Basil Brush Show debuts.
Boom, boom. Yeah, I love Basil Brush.
The 25th of September, The Champions. Now, were they the ones with special powers?
Yes, that's right. Another one of the kind of those Avengers fantasy series which comes out at this time. And as we see, the 29th of September, we get Joe 90, which is a Jerry Anderson show. And then...
On the 7th of December, Land of the Giants.
Yeah.
Going up to my grandma's every Sunday as a kid in the 80s, it would be on after Little House on the Prairie or The Waltons, Land of the Giants. So The Year of the Sex Olympics is a 1968 television play made by the BBC, and it was first broadcast on BBC Two as part of Theatre 625, which was obviously kind of an anthology of television plays. It stars Leonard Rossiter.
Oh, Mr. Rigsby.
Yeah, you had to do it.
I couldn't help it.
Leonard Rossiter from The Rise and Fall of Reginald Perrin, from Rising Damp. Tony Vogel, Suzanne Neve, and Brian Cox. Obviously, Logan Roy from Succession, amongst many other things. Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter.
This is his first telly role, yes. He's come from rep theatre straight into this.
He's very young in this. You can see immediately that it's Brian Cox, can't you? I mean, there's no mistaking that voice.
Absolutely.
So it was directed by Michael Elliott, and the writer was Nigel Neal, best known as the creator of Quatermass, which was another 60s phenomenon, wasn't it, on British television?
Yeah.
Influenced by concerns about overpopulation, the counterculture, as we've talked about, of the 1960s, and the societal effects of television. And the play depicts a world in the future where a small elite control the mass media. Sound familiar?
Doesn't it just? And one of the things that's been said about this is how prescient and actually how spookily it predicts the future in lots of broadcasting ways, which we shall see.
So why don't you give us a little brief overview of what the story is, Lee?
In a future society, entertainment is controlled by the ruling class, the high drives, and is designed to keep the working class, the low drives, in a state of apathy through an endless stream of sex and mindless programming. This lowest common denominator programming is designed to stop them breeding, and their audience reaction is constantly monitored. However, the executives worry the audience has become too apathetic, but when a protester dies on camera, they become excited, and the high drives come up with a new TV format. A family unit will be sent to a deserted Scottish island and left to fend for themselves under 24-hour surveillance. As their experience turns darker and results in violence, the high drive TV executives realize they have a smash hit on their hands. Where to begin?
We start off in a TV gallery with producers filming a show called Sex Sport, which ultimately leads to the year of the Sex Olympics. Basically, we see shots of people having sex, all very modestly done, and all controlled by this TV gallery. And we also get shots of the audience watching it, which reminded me very much of 1984 or Metropolis kind of feel about it. All the audience watching it are all very docile. They all look quite sedated. And as we go through the programme, the producers in the gallery are always obsessed with rating every little action that the people in the Sex Olympics do or of the shows. They're continually assessing the ratings, what makes the ratings go up, and how the audience reacts to things. So they're all quite dominated by what the audience says, which again, you know, is like today. Every TV show is vying for a rating, aren't they?
This constant stream of sex and pornography, I guess. It says in the script that it's designed to stop them actually wanting to have sex, because actually watching is not doing. And this society has become so kind of inured to sex because it's constantly on TV.
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental approach to this from the producers is apathy control. They continually talk about apathy control. I think it's alluded to that they're producing this in the 90s, so it's kind of a, you know, throw forward to what their predictions about the future are. But it's also kind of set in a world where the audience and the people who are producing these programs don't have an idea of what the outside world is. It feels as though everyone's become very insular. They've got no idea about what weather is or what the sea is and things like that. So they do talk about the past, about how there was tension in the past. There were world wars in the past. And what they'd be trying to do with this apathy control is take away all the tension. They don't want their audience to feel any kind of emotion. They don't want them to feel hurt, grief. They don't want them to experience art. So anything that might deviate themselves away from this world of television, they don't want them to feel. It's quite a dystopian world that we're watching, isn't it?
Definitely. The Leonard Rosser character, he's the only one who's older and so remembers the old times. And once you get your head around the kind of language they speak, which is understandable, but there's a lot of words and phrases and stuff which are clearly, Nigel Neal's tried to dumb it down, you know, and that's one of his statements about this, that television would dumb down everything. And, you know, don't necessarily TV, but certainly you could argue that media in general has dumbed down, as has everything in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Is reality TV to blame for that? Part of that process? Part of the process, undoubtedly. But, I mean, it's written as a very reactionary piece, isn't it? And you touched on the fact that he wrote this against the counterculture. And even though this is set in whenever, it's clearly filmed in 1968 because the aesthetics of it, the outfits, the makeup, the sets, it's very Doctor Who adjacent. Obviously, I loved it. Yeah. The looks, the guys, all these ponytails, these amazing psychedelic like caftans. And the women are just in outrageous makeup and, you know, that 60s futurism, which I love. I'm so fond of it. Yeah, I got distracted by the gowns, by the
Yeah.
gowns on the clothes. Sorry.
Yeah, it was very heavily stylized, wasn't it? And it was kind of their prediction of what 1990s may look like, but obviously a kind of heightened version
If
of it.
only.
Yeah, it was great. And the main philosophy of these TV producers was cool the audience, cool the world. So if you could subdue the audience, then that would mean that they were less likely to react to things going on in the world, which I guess to a certain extent, without getting too conspiracy theory about it, it's kind of true in a way. You know, we're all glued to our phones. We're all fed what they feel we should be fed to a certain extent. And you could argue that it's a really good diversionary tactic. You know, it's a kind of look over there philosophy and then ignore what's going on here, which I don't think is too conspiracy theory. I think that's actually what kind of what's happening at the moment. You know,
really. Yeah.
And there was a sense they all kept looking up at this big computer, and there was a kind of a sense that everything was being controlled by some sort of artificial intelligence. They talk about the computer at one point, which again, obviously looking into our future, might not be far off from the truth, really.
And going back to that thing you're talking about how the emotions have been ironed out of this society, you know, even love, the positive emotions have gone, haven't they? And so you get this guy who's an artist and he's producing art, which is like the Scream, basically.
Yeah.
But he needs to kind of express himself. And the effect of his art, when he shows it to other characters, they just lose their minds, don't they? They just can't handle it. The women just screaming hysterically, you know, it really evokes something. And again, it's just a statement on if you blandize everything, if you take all the kind of give people a gruel, then do they just get stuck in this kind of gruel without any kind of wanting to look at other things for beauty or inspiration stuff?
Yeah.
It's quite heavy play, isn't it?
Well, it really
it's written in
was.
1968.
So yeah, there was this character called Kim who, like you say, was an artist. He was a kind of reactionary, kicking against all this. He worked at the TV station, but he saw it for what it was. You know, that they were subduing people, reducing tension in them. And because of his art and what he produced, he felt as though the audience should see that and try and wake them up to emotion, to think for themselves, to react to things. So he kind of held up his art to the cameras, didn't he? And the TV station went into meltdown. It's like, this isn't the kind of thing that we want them to see. We want to be able to control what they see, subdue them, etc. So he met quite a grisly end, but he did have kind of an effect on the main protagonist of the story, who was Nat, who himself was one of the gallery workers, one of the producers, and he kind of started to see that actually, this is what it means to be a human, and started to kind of learn these human emotions through the art that he was looking at, which obviously prompted a reaction from the other producers and things. It's obviously something that was frowned upon. And he had an ex-girlfriend called Deanie. They had a daughter together called Ketan.
So after this reactionary dies, what happens is that the executives quickly realise is that the audience reaction to the death has been incredible. The ratings have gone up. And so they get an idea of a new show which is going to be set on a remote Scottish island. They'll get a family unit to move there. And Nat actually volunteers himself for it because he's starting to realise that there is something in this idea, that there is something being pushed under. So he volunteers, as does his ex-girlfriend of 57 partners ago, with whom they have a low-drive daughter, much to their horror, decide that they'll volunteer. They'll do this reality show on the island.
So they set up this show, again, very much kind of a castaway kind of show, and Nat and Deanie and their daughter Ketan go and live on the island. And when they arrive, they've never even seen the sea before. They don't know what sheep are. They don't know what wind is. In this world, no one is exposed to the outside world, the elements, so all the stuff that we take for granted now. You know, imagine not knowing what wind is. You know, the wind howls through the cottage and the daughter's like, what's that noise? And so they're all exposed to the elements and experiencing things for the first time. And it's really difficult to deal with. They can't deal with it very well. And it's all being watched by the TV cameras very, very big brother.
And then to shake it up, because they want something to spice the whole thing along, the Brian Cox character has introduced onto the island also a guy with his wife, and turns out to have been a psycho that was banished from the colony like 12 years ago. And obviously what will happen is that you'll see him kill Jeannie, and at the end, Nat kills him, so it all ends in a bloodbath. But this is exactly what they wanted. They want the element of danger. It's fight night on Big Brother 5, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. The daughter dies. The daughter kind of has an accident and cuts herself. And because they don't know how to deal with somebody cutting themselves or injuring themselves, she gets an infection, and ultimately the daughter dies. The ratings go up. Yeah. They show the burial. The ratings go up. Yeah. And what we get at the end is this montage of shots of the producers in the gallery, absolutely wild, elated, almost like primal instinct to celebrate the grisly death of a man, his wife, and their child, because the ratings just shoot up and up and up. And obviously we haven't descended to the point of murdering people on Big Brother. It's just that psychological instinct in us all to enjoy drama, enjoy conflict. Even though we don't like to admit it, watching the suffering of others. I mean, look at I'm a Celebrity. Don't we love it when they're absolutely petrified of spiders or cockroaches?
Yeah, look at 70s disaster movies when you get a load of gorgeous people and put them through a load of old shit. We love to watch it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had his finger on the pulse 50 years early, didn't he, old Nigel Neal?
Well, he did. I mean, it's the closest thing I've kind of seen to dissecting and understanding the human nature of today.
That's really interesting. Gosh, considering it was made in 1968.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was cursing you for the first 20 minutes, thinking, what's this old shit you've made me watch? And then I slowly got drawn into it. I thought, this is really telling. This is like holding a mirror up to society. And I don't think there's anybody out there who can deny that there isn't a little bit of these people in all of us.
It's a bit like Black Mirror of 1968, isn't it? I think the thing about it is it's not exactly subtle. It's a railing against the counterculture, as you've mentioned. You know, and Nigel Neal was very suspicious of it and very suspicious of its ideals. It was quite possibly an old conservative, small c conservative. But, you know, as something prescient and something which was kind of on the money 50 years early, you know, it's got a power now. And I suspect that its power will only grow as time goes on, and we become even more corn-fed this entertainment of gruel. So what would you give it out of 10?
So stylistically and for pace, I could give it maybe 4 Sex Olympics out of 10. For the subject matter and the way it made you think, I would give it 9 out of 10. What about you?
Yeah, similar kind of thing. Okay, if we were judging on aesthetics and outfits, it's getting 10 out of 10. If we're judging on the production of it, then I'd give it 5 out of 10. But judging on the ideas of it and the way it made you think about stuff, I'd give it like 9 out of 10 as well. Yeah. 9 golden loincloths out of 10. So I'd probably give it an overall score of, say, 7.5. Yeah.
I do think that's fair. So yeah, one to think about. If you want to watch it, we've posted a link on YouTube. It's well worth it, I would say. I would probably pour yourself a large glass of wine or a large Aperol Spritz before you delve into it.
For your own sanity.
Yeah, for your own sanity. But if you've got an hour and 40 minutes spare, then do give it a watch. That was the Sex Olympics. What are we going to be talking about next week, Lee?
Well, next week we're off to Summer Isle in the Hotel Hebron. No, let's not do that. So next week, because May Day is fast approaching, there's only one way to celebrate, and that's with some pagan shenanigans on a remote Scottish island. Oh, remote Scottish island, keeping in the theme of this week. Not the same remote Scottish island, but no, we're travelling back to 1973 for one of my favourite ever films and one of the best British horror films ever made, called The Wicker Man. There will be sacrifice. There'll be Christopher Lee in drag. Ingrid Pitt. There will not be Britt Ekland naked, dancing up and down and gyrating against a pub wall. That will be me. But there'll be plenty of music, for sure. Super excited.
And Edward Woodward.
And Edward Woodward.
I am really looking forward to this because do you know what? I put off watching The Wicker Man for years and years and years, even despite your pleas to watch it, because I just thought it's not going to be up my street. I just don't like the look of it. Watched it one night, absolutely blown away by it. So I'm really looking forward to a rewatch and a dissection and a look through Problematic Lens.
Great. So I'll meet you at the Maypole.
Meet me at the Maypole. It'll be just like life in my village without the human sacrifice.
Well, you say that.
Yeah, who knows? After a couple of Aperol spritz, anything can happen, really, especially on the village green on a Friday night. That being said, please don't forget to follow us. Click that follow button right now. And if you want to follow us on our socials, please do. We're at Podcast Gaze on TikTok and Instagram. And if you want to write to us, then please email us at theproblematicgaze@gmail.com. If you want to comment on anything that you've heard throughout our podcast, or if you want to suggest future topics, please do. And if you want to leave us a review, please do, because they really help to spread the word of The Problematic Gaze. Until next week, Lee.
Bye.